Okay, I'm back. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm back. I now need to call Chloe on Zoom again and keep our fingers crossed and hope we can hear her this time. So just bear with me. Huge, huge apologies, folks. I feel so badly about this. Okay, I've just opened up Zoom. I'll give you a running commentary. Yes, so I've just opened up Zoom and I can see myself, and I've got to join with computer audio, and then I have got to invite Chloe. So I'll copy the invitation, and I will now go onto my second monitor, and I will bring her up on Google Chat over here. And as I say, I have really slow broadband here, folks, so everything loads really, really, really slowly. So just talk to yourselves while I get up Annie's email. Here we go. It's that one. And maybe Betty will enter. Betty's probably entertaining you. I'm not actually looking at the stream at the moment, but I'm sure Betty's entertaining you wonderfully. Right, here's Chloe on chat. So I will, when it deigns to load, I will send her the new Zoom link. There it is. And we will wait ever so patiently for her to join us. So meanwhile, I will turn on the display. So you get to look at me. Hard luck. Now, let's see whether she joins us. Okay, so now I know you can see me on Zoom, and hopefully you can hear me. So now we're waiting for Chloe to come back. Come back, all is forgiven. Please come back. I've sent her the link. And I think she was going to go and see if she could find her laptop. She was doing it on her phone. And I actually don't think the problem was her end, because it doesn't make sense to me that I could hear her and you can't. Okay, so you can hear me, Scandals. That's good. And I can see she's online on chat. So she should be with us soon, hopefully. Here she comes.
Hello?
Right, okay. I think we can see your ceiling or something, or your floor.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's better. Okay, right. Chloe's back again, folk. Can you hear her? Uh, can you hear her, Mother? Can see you and hear you. Can you see and hear Chloe? Yes! Awesome! Right. Awesome, awesome. I'm so sorry about that, folk. It was just the old turn it off and turn it on again trick. So back to the beginning. So I'd like to welcome Perfume Addict, who's going to come and talk to us. I'll just say it very quickly about why people get taken in by romance scammers, why some people are repeatedly scammed, why some people won't listen when they're told that they're being scammed. And she's asked me to tell you that if I talk over the top of her, it isn't me being rude. She's asked me to do it because she's very passionate about the subject. So the floor is yours, finally. So, yes, yeah. And somebody has already asked, but we'll probably take questions later. But somebody has already asked, how do we get someone to believe that the person they're talking to is a love scammer? Chloe will get round to that. Uh, Chloe's voice needs to be up. Oh dear. Um, um, I don't have a. I don't have a. No, they're still saying they can't hear you. Um, oh, now you've suddenly gone louder to me. Yeah, you suddenly went louder there. Sounds dropped out again. Right. Yeah. If the video's freezing, Shirley, I hugely apologise. There is nothing I can do about that. It's because I have really desperately poor rural broadband. And there's nothing that I. She has just checked her mic settings, Betty, um, and she's just turned them up to high. Um, so all part of being. Can anyone hear Chloe now? Because if you can't, we're going to have to do this another day because it's not fair. Um, I'm just going to I'm just going to give you the holding picture of of a the seaside and see if there's any settings I can adjust. Um, oh, now you've suddenly gone loud again. But they should now be looking at a lovely picture of the seaside again. And I'm just going to play with the audio. Um, see, according to this, right? Can you say something, Chloe? Right, that's interesting. It doesn't seem to be able to hear you. Um, right, what is going on? What is going on? Um, filters, properties, advanced audio properties. Let's try this. Yeah, but you're not coming over very loud here. I can see that you aren't. Can't hear Chloe. No, and I can see that you can't. And it's so weird because when I've done this before, I've not had a problem. Audio, and I've got the correct. Okay, I'm going to remove the audio and re-add it. Hang on, folks. No, I'm going to remove the audio, Chloe, and re-add it. Hang on. Yes, hang on. I'm just going to remove the audio. Okay. Which one do I want to use? I want to use that one. I do have an external microphone we could try. I can hear you. I can hear you fine. Right, I've turned the audio back on, folk. I do have an external microphone that I can try. Let me just, I know you can't see this. Let's just get it. Yeah, I'm just going to try. I've got another external microphone here, which I'm sure they're all sitting at home wetting. There'll be some people sitting at home going, "Oh, for goodness sake, can't you ever get anything right, you stupid woman?" And there'll be some people sitting at home wetting themselves, laughing, thinking, "Oh, ha ha! I'm glad it's happening to them, not me." Probably. Okay, right. I'm going to turn the audio off again, folk, and plug in an external microphone, which you can't see, but I've got it in my left hand. So I'm just about to turn you off.
Mine now is moving up and down.
Hang on. And it's that one. Okay. Right. Okay. I've put another microphone on now.
Yeah, but my mic's moving up and down now, and so is yours. So they should be able to hear us.
So the question is, can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now? Please say yes.
Right.
Hello.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Island Girl.
We understand, Betty. Oh no, I can't. You've still got it on the screen. You've still got the Greek island.
It's not Greece. It's the Outer Hebrides.
No, we can hear Chloe. Yes.
Oh, awesome! Hang on. In which case, I'll turn her on. Hang on. Let's put her up there. And turn off the image. And
yes, they're saying it's better.
Okay, right. Okay, so how are we doing? Okay, right.
They're saying yes.
Yes. Oh, awesome. So
you know what's going to happen now? We're going to get cut off of Zoom, and then we'll have to come back on. So people, please, can you hear? I can't see us on the thing though. Yeah.
They can do fairly shortly. I've turned it on. It's just the delay.
But you're still not very loud. Well, people are saying yes, they can hear us. I just have to shout.
Still not very loud. Oh, I'm so sorry about this,
Although
folk.
Not 100%. Well, I'll have to speak louder because mine's on the fullest it can be.
Yeah. So huge apologies, folks, and over to Chloe, who really is now going to tell us.
And I'm really stressed now. I'm so stressed. Right. Well, I don't know where we were even starting then. So I think I have to go back to the beginning because they didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
Are you sure you can hear us all? Because I am going to shout now. They said it's good enough. I'm going to shout.
Okay. Oh dear, oh dear. The joys of live stream. I might have to edit this video and cut all the beginning out and then re-upload it. Just to warn people that we are on the free version of Zoom. So we only get 40 minutes. She sounds far away, but at least we can hear her. Okay.
I'm close to the mic.
So,
the mic's moving.
yeah. So we only get 40 minutes. So when she gets cut off, if people still want us to continue, we'll start the call again. But I could quite understand if you've all had enough of us by now. Okay, can hear you. Okay, over to you, Chloe. So, tell us, why do people get taken in by the romance scammers?
Well, right, I'm going to have to talk louder, so if I'm shouting, but I think they get taken in the first place because normally they're vulnerable and lonely. That's probably the main factor. They might have, like I said, been widowed, been with someone for a long time, and they're suddenly on their own. They might have been in a domestic abuse situation and haven't had enough time to heal, and they go straight back in and get love bombed again. They're normally vulnerable and lonely. I have to say it happened to me, and I'm a pretty strong woman, so if someone can take me for a ride, then that's surprising. But I had just recently got divorced, and I'd been on my own for 3 years, didn't know much about internet dating. I've studied this myself for 5 years because I was a victim of domestic violence. And in this country, coercive control, which are the threats, intimidation, and using you for money, and the coercion, making you isolated, is actually illegal. It's illegal in the UK, and it is a criminal offence. So I've had 5 years of healing and doing lots of courses, which I've learned so much. And basically the two, a victim of domestic violence and a victim of a romance scam, basically overlaps. There's got to be a lot more research on it, but basically I called some teams yesterday, like victims first, and yes, and abuse services. And basically, if you have been a victim of romance scammer, you feel the same things basically as if you were a victim of domestic violence. But most people fall for it basically because they're vulnerable and they get love bombed. I'm going to say love bombed because that's how the scammer first gets that victim into control, shall we say. Love bombing is a phrase that domestic violence teams use, and a man called H.D. Tudor, who's a narcissist and psychopath, and he actually saved my life, actually, of knowing what to do. But basically the love bombing phase, so they come in very quickly. They normally say they love you, as we know from Annie's videos, that they're soulmate, they're constantly ringing all the time. They're asked for questions like, who's in the house? Does your son or daughter live with you? Do you own your own house? Now that is for their benefit later on. So it all starts really with the love bombing, or, you know, someone might put something on their Facebook profile or Instagram without realizing that maybe they shouldn't have done that. They might put recently divorced or something. And that to an abuser or a scammer is meaning that you're vulnerable. So you've got to be really, really careful what you first put on any social media about yourselves, really. I shut up then.
And one of the things that you were talking to me about was trauma bonding. So Can you explain what that is?
Well, obviously the love bombing phase is a phase where obviously the woman or man feels like, you know, they've met the man or woman of their dreams, and basically it causes the victim to become trauma bonded, which basically means it's like a drug addiction. So you get a massive release of serotonin and dopamine at the beginning as well of the love bombing phase, or what's called the honeymoon phase. So obviously then when maybe you don't do something for the scammer, the threats and the coercion will start, and you'll feel depressed or you'll feel anxious, and then you'll think, hang on a moment, I want that. I want him to be nice to me. I want to have the love bombing phase back. So you'll do anything to give in, to have that rush of serotonin and dopamine again. So a trauma bond is very, very hard to break, which can take actually years to break a trauma bond, which is why often women go back and they can't leave the scammer, even or a victim of, you know, or an abuser. It's the same psychology involved. So, you know, they know it's wrong deep inside their heart, their brain, but they're using what's called their emotional thinking over logical thinking. And actually H.D. Tudor does a brilliant one over logical emotions over emotional thinking, or what we would term it as non-mentalizing or mentalizing. So it becomes very hard for them to break the pattern. They go up and down in this coiled loop, and at the end is the realization that yes, they have got scammed, and the guilt, the shame, the remorse, the realize that they've been used, again like a victim of domestic violence, abuse, and you know, and they can feel suicidal, and they can feel that their identity is being totally ripped away, and you know, like I said, it's one of the hardest things to break, and that's why they will keep doing it, even though people say, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? They're scamming you, they're using you. But it's because they want that rush of serotonin and dopamine. And so if you can imagine an alcoholic or a drug addict trying to get off their choice of drug, that might take them a long time to do. It's the same thing. And it is called trauma bonding, and there's a chemical imbalance, balances in the brain that causes that. And like I said, they want that love bombing phase back. They want the scammer or abuser to feel happy again, so they do anything for them. And obviously often the scammer, like the abuser, will take them in an up and down cycle, which then creates the trauma bond in the first place. And then before they know it, they're doing anything to please the scammer, to keep them happy, because they want that relief. It gives them a relief of that, the drugs, the chemicals in the brain, the feel good, the happy, the dizziness, the lovey-dovey. They want that back. And that is why they find it really, really hard to break. I hope that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah. So it's a bit like, it's a drug addiction, an alcohol addiction, a gambling addiction.
The brain.
It's the release, as you say, of the chemicals in the brain that people unconsciously crave. So they don't know they're craving it, but they can't help themselves but try to get that feeling back.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the brain works. It's like when you madly fall in love with someone, you feel all fuzzy, you feel warm, you feel good, you feel protected, you feel in love. And you, like I said, your brain gives out these chemicals, dopamine and serotonin, which is, like I said, why abused women will go back, and why victims of scammers, they can't stop. It's the same psychology that crosses over. there's been one research on the topic where the victims of a scam is the same as victims of domestic violence because of the cohesive control. And like I said, part of that again is how they get you and the love bombing at the start. And then, you know, like I said, when you maybe don't give them the money that they want, they will start using threats or pull you down. I've heard it on some other videos that, you know, they might insult you by saying, well, you know, you won't find anyone else, or you're ugly, and I could find someone else. And then you quickly think, oh shit, I better send this money to the scammer, or keep the scammer happy because, you know, and then as soon as you've done it and they say, oh, thanks, babe, oh my God, you've sent me the gift card, and then they're grateful again, you get the release again of the serotonin and dopamine. So you're back in that love bombing stage, and then it's all good for a while. But yeah, it's literally like breaking a drug addiction, which is why it is really hard to break.
So that kind of explains why it's very easy for a lot of us to look at what they're saying and go, oh, ha, ha, and just make fun of it, which obviously is what I do in the videos. But if you're someone that all that talk causes the release of serotonin, then you've got the start of that addiction process going on.
Yeah. I mean, they normally, as we know, they can romance somebody for a long time. So then the trauma bonding gets further along till it's like a full blown drug addiction. So like if you can stop a scammer and you know it's a scammer straight away before you send any money, it's get out, stay out, block. You've got to go no contact. The only way to deal with a scammer or a victim, an abuser, is to go no contact. Get out, stay out. You block all social media, and if you have to, come off. And by doing courses that I have, and if you listen to H.G. Tudor, he will actually say a narcissist, or what these scammers actually are, or abusers, hunt. They will hunt Facebook. They will hunt dating sites. It's their hunting ground to find that vulnerable person, really, that then, you know, they get as much information as they can, but it's to find out more on how your brain ticks, so, you know, they can use it against you later, but you're often not aware of it. And, you know, obviously the thing is, you know, if you have a friend request from anybody you don't know, don't accept it. And if the love bombing starts, they will come in fast and quickly, which is when you know it's a warning flag that you're dealing with an abuser, a scammer, narcissistic. And you've got to really listen to those red flags right at the beginning. You know, oh, I love you, you're my soulmate, you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, I could marry you, and I never would marry anybody else. You know, they do what they call future faking, as H.G. Tudor calls it, where they promised you all these things in the future. Clearly that is never going to happen. But again, it raises your serotonin and dopamine, and you think, oh, I'm going to get married on a Caribbean island, I'm going to be moving to Miami, and you go and tell everybody. But probably you've got to like step back a bit and what's called the helicopter view and look down about really what's happening here. And actually, what would you tell a friend that came up to you and say, oh, I've met this guy online, but he won't video chat me. He always says his camera's not working. He speaks with a funny accent. And he's already said we're going to live together, and he wants me to put my house on the market. Now, as a friend to that person, you would automatically say, hang on a moment, red flag, something's not right here. But because that person is not using their logical part of their brain, their emotional thinking, it's can quite often be difficult to get through to that person. But if you can, at the beginning, do what's called a helicopter view and look down at the scenario, and what would you tell a friend if you they were in the same situation as you, they would tell you, actually block that person. He's a scammer. He's an abuser. Get out. They would. So I hope that helps as well.
Yeah. But I guess, like all addictions, it's one thing to know you're an alcoholic. It's one thing to know you're addicted to drugs. It's one thing to know you're addicted to gambling. But it's a different thing altogether to break that addiction. And I would imagine that most people that fall victim to romance scammers are not aware that actually they're developing an addiction.
They won't be.
Yeah.
It's normally towards the end when they're suffering maybe depression, anxiety, when all the scammers playing mind games with them, or the abusers playing mind games with them. Often it's too late. The trauma bond's been formed, and they can't think with the logical part of their brain at all. And often they will be left feeling isolated, lonely, cut off, no friends left, no family left, and they will become suicidal.
Yeah. Which also, of course, then makes them more vulnerable to inappropriate online advances, because if they're then feeling isolated and lonely, and somebody comes online and sends them a friend request and is using a handsome picture, or they've said something nice on something they've posted on Instagram, they instantly get that rush of serotonin of somebody likes me, somebody loves me, somebody wants to talk to me, and they've got that rush of serotonin, and away it goes again.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're feeling not in a mentalizing state, or you've just got out of a relationship, it's best not to use any dating site or accept any friend request really for about 6 months afterwards, or 6 months to a year, I would say. And to work on yourself, self-love, recovery, because otherwise, if you go straight, say if you've been in the marriage a long time and it wasn't very good, and then someone sends you a friend request, and then it very quickly moves on very quickly, that's where the danger is, that you're going to get pulled back into those situations again.
Yeah.
So you've got to be really firm with yourselves afterwards and make sure you're on your own for a while, because otherwise that you do get pulled back in. Unfortunately, it happened to me actually, twice in fact. Laugh, it's not funny really. I have to laugh now. But yes, the advice is from abuse services as well to have 6 months to a year out before you even attempt, because you will get pulled straight back in to another, which could be actually even worse. I mean, obviously the scammers we're talking about are ones that are based in Nigeria. Some of them aren't, some can be from even in the UK, but the level of coercion they use, threats, intimidation, emotional abuse, blackmail, minimizing and blame shifting is another thing we see, the gaslighting. It's all part, so it doesn't actually have to be physical violence to be under domestic abuse. What we see is the coercion and the control, which is just as serious.
Yeah. Scandals Undercover has said, do you think they want to be scammed? They don't. They're just in a... Oh, right. You can probably see on the screen now that
we might have to
Zoom has just said that we've got 10 minutes left. So we'll run it until either I spot that it says a minute left, or I don't spot it and we get cut off. And then I will just call Chloe up on Zoom again, and hopefully next time you'll be able to hear her all right.
And then hopefully when we come back, obviously I'll take questions.
So, yes, I was just saying, Scandals Undercover was talking to someone else and said, do you think they want to be scammed? They don't. They're just in a very vulnerable state. And I think what Chloe has explained to us is it's nothing to do with wanting to be scammed. They just get a rush of chemicals, like a drug addiction rush. When somebody gives
them compliments.
Yes, really. Says all the stuff that they say to my characters, but instead of laughing at them, it gives people, I suppose you could say, that warm fuzzy feeling.
Yeah, it's a warm,
and people want it
in transactional analysis.
Yeah.
In psychology, it's called giving someone a warm fuzzy.
Oh right.
If you compliment someone, it's actually called a warm fuzzy. Yes. There's a story. I won't go into that now.
Yeah.
But it's called a warm fuzzy. So they come in. It's the love bombing again.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're in a vulnerable situation, or you've got out of a marriage or relationship, have time out, because otherwise you're not thinking logically. You're thinking emotionally, and you'll get reeled back in. And that's why it's so important to have that time out to heal, get help.
And I often think that some of the victims are people who, let's say, may struggle socially, who struggle to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend, because this happens both ways. It can be, and across all communities, so, it can be male on female, female on male, male on male, female on female, and, any other identity that you have, but if you struggle to find a partner, Chloe's frozen.
No.
No, you're there. Okay.
I was reading something by someone had said, Kevin.
Yeah. So that
Kevin P. Bulldog, not sure if I ever stop any, they would leave maybe or go somewhere else. So, but I take it from that.
And no, he was talking about sending MoneyGram payments a bit further above. So, sorry, to finish what I was saying, so that if somebody's struggling...
They have a suckers list. Actually, yes, they do have a suckers list.
Yes. So if somebody struggles to find a partner, and suddenly, for whatever reason, they struggle socially, and somebody comes online and says to them, you're gorgeous, you're beautiful, you're handsome, somebody who's using a photograph of a woman with legs up to her armpits and large assets, is talking to maybe a more mature man who, sees what he sees. And I think I can say this on the live stream, people get a sexual rush from it, and you can understand that. And that, as Chloe explained to me when we were talking a few days ago, sets off the dopamine reaction. So suddenly you've got somebody who's never perhaps managed to have a partner, and suddenly they've got someone telling them that they're beautiful, they're sexy, they're gorgeous, and making them feel feminine or masculine for maybe the first time ever, or the first time in a long time. And it sets off that sexual response and sets off the dopamine and the serotonin responses.
And I think, I've said before, some people can be in sexless marriages for a long time, and then, they get a friend request or meet someone online, and that's when you get the thing. It ends up with being the pictures and the doing things, and cameras in front of each other, and obviously, you've got to be. My advice is don't do it. Just do not do it. A real man or a real woman would never get you to do that. You get a lot of escorts, I know, for men on the dating sites, which they need to be careful of that. But yes, they get that sense of they're beautiful again or handsome again. And, if there's a sexual desire or a sexual rush as well, then, and then if they have sent I don't know, videos to each other naked or something. Often they're used later in revenge porn, which in the UK is a criminal offence. There is actually a site just for revenge porn, actually. But obviously, if it's in Nigeria, it's obviously not under our UK law. So, but if they're spreading it all across the internet, it would be. But my advice is to rein it back. You know, rein it back. Even if you have to block them for a couple of days, a week, to ask people, ask your friends, ask their family, what do they really think of this person? You need to ask other people that you can trust that will give you an honest opinion. And if you need to block them and take time out, or turn your phone off, or, you know, get another phone with a SIM if you just want family, you know, to give you time to get your logical thinking back. And then you might actually see what, you know, then the victims might actually see what's going on before.
But they've still, I presume, got that, the emotional response at times, you know, if you're tired or it's dark in the winter and you're feeling a bit down and you want that, you're craving, like on a nicotine addiction, I suppose. I've never smoked, but you crave, you're craving that rush of chemicals in the brain that makes you feel warm and fuzzy and you know, loved and wanted, and that I can imagine would then take over your logical side, which says, well, I mustn't contact that person.
I mean, it does. I mean, there's grounding techniques you can use to try to get your logical thinking back, you know, by holding something in your hands and or touching, grounding yourself outside, feet on the ground, and actually, you know, leave your phone, don't go near it, you know, for a couple of hours. Go for a walk, you know, and look at yourself in the mirror and say, right, okay, what's really happening here? What is going on? I'm thinking with my heart, not my head. And you will hear what we call the poison parrot on your shoulder, maybe saying, you know, the different two sides, the good and the bad in you, the emotional and the logical. You have an argument almost within your head. But a lot of scammers, again, they will, and abusers too, will keep you up late at night, so you're sleep deprived. Now, sleep deprivation is part of cohesive control as well. I had it done to me. And it gets you to the point where you really do not know what you're doing or thinking, or you just don't know who you are anymore. And obviously scammers often call, you know, late at night, and a lot of women have said they've often been kept awake at night. My advice is turn your phone off, have it on sleep mode so only your family and friends, and have a cut-off point. You know, you've got to have boundaries, which is another thing I was going to come to. Probably now after the break, about boundaries, about having boundaries in place, self-respect for yourselves, so that you protect yourselves. So you've got to think of it like your house with a picket fence round. You don't want it so low that everyone can walk in and walk all over you and take everything. You don't want it so high that no one can get to you at all. You want it in the middle. And that can take years maybe to get that boundary in place that's right. But I'm going
to interrupt you there, Chloe, because we've got less than a minute left and I don't want Chloe to just be suddenly cut off. I'm going to end the Zoom call with Chloe. Don't go away. I'll put the seaside picture back for you folk and I will call Chloe up again. So stay by your devices.
I'll be on the live. I can see them on the live stream.
Yes.
So.
Okay. So I'm just going to end it now, and I will send you another link.
Okay.
There you are, folk. Right, you've got a picture of the Outer Hebrides again. And meanwhile, I will just start a new meeting. and I will join it myself. I know you can't see this, but I'm just kind of talking you through what I'm doing. I will grab the invite, I will copy the invitation, I will find Chloe, who's over here on my second monitor, and I've got the external microphone in the way, so I can't see what I'm doing. I will send her the invitation. And then I'll come back over here to Zoom, and I will come back to you, and I will turn off the image, and then you should be able to see Zoom now. And if I go back to YouTube on the monitor so I can see all of you, that's better. Okay. So Chloe will be back with us soon. And so has anyone got questions for Chloe, who is being a bit reticent tonight, but she knows an awful lot about this subject, and actually something that I will just ask her to tell you when she does come back. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions for Chloe, please type them in the chat. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, Mr. I Spy. I'll say a few hellos while we're waiting for... Oh, here she comes. Okay. Right. Close that. Welcome back. Now, first of all, can people hear you?
Can everyone hear me again? Can you hear me?
Can you hear her, Mother?
Oh God!
And then you have to wait. Then you have to wait 20 seconds before anyone can say yes. It's so weird, the delay on YouTube.
Can you hear us, everyone? We're not on the screen, actually. Our pictures aren't up, Annie.
Oh, yes, they are. That's the delay again.
Can you hear us? There's chatting amongst themselves.
Yeah. Recalcitrant lot. You see, they're not taking any notice of us. Yes, they can hear you. Excellent. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, one thing
to say, I saw some. Obviously, I'd like to say thank you. I'm trying to go through to see who's on here. Obviously, quickly, I was trying to get the link. Betty seems to be doing a great job.
Betty's doing a good job with links.
And Lacey Lockett's here, and Joan, and Pauline, and Sandals Undercover, and Patricia.
Right. Pauline says, why do people think the good-looking photos are going to be a good match for them? I think that is what I said, possibly, which is people that struggle socially to find a partner are suddenly find a good-looking man or a good-looking woman is apparently interested in them, and so they get that probably sexual rush of, oh, somebody is interested in me, and yeah, and they get that rush of sex hormones that sets off the rush of dopamine.
Page 3 model with you, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think as well is someone. I mean, to be honest with you, you know, if someone. I mean, I did have it on a dating app where this guy looked like an Adonis, but I knew he was fake. I could tell. And the motto is, which we learn again with abuse services, always. If it's too good to be true, then it normally is. I mean, you know, come on, everybody, you've got to think sometimes why, you know, they're going to use good-looking pictures sometimes to entice you, but sometimes they don't, because sometimes they do not use. They use mediocre pictures because then you probably think, oh, that won't be a scammer, because the picture's like of an average guy, say an average handsome-ish guy, you know, maybe with a dad's body, and you think, oh, well, he can't be a scammer. But actually, you can be wrong. There is no, you know, there's no, like, you can't go around looking, right, he's an abuser, he's a scammer, he's going to abuse me, he's not. You're not going to tell that by a photo. Well, they do say, actually, abusers or narcissists or scammers don't normally smile, actually, is true, in pictures. But obviously they're using, the Nigerian scammers in particular, are using fake photos, and often the man is smiling. So I guess that's irrelevant. But I was just trying to think then. Oh yes, about boundaries. But I'm willing to take people's questions, because I can see.
And one thing I would say to people is, if you're starting an online relationship with someone, or you see someone and you think they're being taken in, try doing a reverse image search. And I might do a video on that, because 3 or 4 days ago, and I did send this to Chloe, somebody emailed me to say that, was it his aunt? He thought his aunt was being taken in, and he thought he recognised the photos on one of my videos, and he sent me, sent Annie, the photographs that this scammer had sent to his aunt. I did a reverse image search and found whose photos had been stolen. So I was able to, because obviously he said to me, what people will often ask is this a scammer? The answer is, if you have to ask, the answer is yes. Look at Atomic Shrimp. I think you'll find he's just put out a video saying that very thing. And I did a reverse image search. I found the person whose photographs had been stolen, and it was a motivational speaker with a completely different name.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of them have used country and western singers and all sorts. I mean, and you just think, you know, I think you've got to, I mean, obviously we're all aware, because we all obviously are watching this channel, and what I want to do is to be able to go through each, because the stuff that I've done has been over 5 years, a 5 years journey of healing, getting myself back, and being able to give back to other victims of domestic violence or victims of scammers. And it's so in depth that I was hoping to do certain subjects under Annie's channel, and to break each subject down, because it feels like gaslighting. You know, there's so much involved, and about, you know, well, I can't actually think now because I've gone brain dead.
So what Perfume Addict basically is saying is that she's offered to make a series of videos on specific topics, so that if you know someone who's vulnerable, who's being taken in, or if you feel that you've been taken in, that she will make a series of videos explaining what's happening to you, why it's happening, and then giving advice on how to break that cycle.
Yeah, I mean, I think someone's just put on here, Island Girl 500. People need to give themselves strict rules before going on dating sites, unless prepared for an earthquake or house fire as it's happening. Like I said, which is very true, it's about boundaries. You've got to have strict boundaries in place. So you've got to be in a good place emotionally. So, you know, emotionally in a healthy place with healthy, what's called healthy boundaries. So you're not taken in. And, you know, one of the topics I will be covering specifically is just on boundaries. Like I said, each one of these topics I'm saying I could spend a whole hour, 2 hours on. But yeah, that was a good one. They can have a heart, but they can have my heart, Pauline has said, but not my money. Yeah. Well, Pauline, would you really want them to have your heart as well? Because actually, that's emotional thinking.
Yeah. And Lacey Lockett says, why don't the scammers use their own pictures? My answer to that would be
they're going to be found out.
Yeah, would be twofold. One is most of them are, I was going to say 18. We'll keep it legal. Most of them are very young men, and so let's say they're trying to romance scam. They're trying to scam Denise, or they're trying to scam Cassandra, who obviously wouldn't stand any of the nonsense of an 18-year-old. They're not going to get very far if they put up the photograph of an 18-year-old. I always hate to bring colour and nationality into it, because we all know that there are very successful cross-cultural, multiracial relationships happening every day, everywhere. But there is also, and there always has been, this thing that when you're looking for a partner, you're looking for that old thing of people like us, whatever that is. So whatever you identify as, whether you identify as black, white, Asian, Australian, Middle Eastern, male, female, some other sexual identity, you're looking for a person like you. And so if they're trying to romance scam a middle-aged white lady, they're more likely to have success using a photograph of a middle-aged white man, I would suggest.
I'd just like to say on here, Faray, I find that the fake profiles fall in love so fast with you and find you're so amazing for doing nothing. Well, yes, to start with, they're going to love bomb you, and then once they've got you where they want you, that's when they're going to start asking for money. It might take 6 months, sometimes a year, before you find out that you're now, the love bombing's coming to an end, and they're going to start asking for things. And someone else had put, though Betty Bam Bam's giving them some good advice here as well. Yeah. I'm a bit concerned for Pauline Makepeace, because she did put, I'm trying to find, hey, I've been scammed from my heart since I was a very young girl. And I would say to you, Pauline, that I will offer to talk to you on a one-to-one, because there's probably a reason why that has happened. I don't want to go into or say anything here that might be triggering to you. But unfortunately, there's things when we grow up that might have occurred that make us vulnerable to being a victim of an abuser or a scammer.
Well, what I'll do is, Chloe and Pauline, I'll just put the keep safe, if I can get the cursor in the right place, put the keep safe on the net email on here. If you, Pauline, if you email the email address I'm about to type, which is help@keepsafeonthenet.co.uk.
Betty Bam Bam, because she put, they use pictures because most are ugly. Yeah. Because they are ugly, most likely.
If you email,
they're going to be found out.
Sorry, if you email that email address, Pauline, I will put you in touch with Chloe, who has.
Pauline has put, it's made her become an agoraphobic, and believe me, Pauline, I have nearly been there myself, believe me.
Yes.
And you know, I'm a pretty strong woman. I had my own business, did law, everything else, and believe me, you wouldn't believe my life if I told you, but I think I had to go through those things. Maybe I'm 54 now, and things happened to me from an early age, which caused me, you know, to things that happened to me. So, you know, but, you know, there's always a chance that you can be healed, and you can live a more fulfilling life, and you won't be reeled in. You'll see those warning signs, and then you'll go, haha. No, I'm not going to have that. I'm not going to be treated like that. No, goodbye. That's what I'm like now. So, oh, here's Greg. Greg's come along now. Bit late, Greg.
Yeah. So
Mr. I Spy's been here as well. Yeah. Yes, definitely, as he said, manipulated. Well, that's part of cohesive control, the manipulation. I'm just saying if there was any. how many Samantha put, it's amazing how many friend requests I received after my Facebook info said widow. That's what I was saying before to actually Annie, and that you've got to be careful what you put on. Like if you say recently divorced, widowed, they're going to make a beeline for you, because they know that those you haven't got those boundaries, and that you want to find someone else to replace your husband or partner or whatever. And that's so my again is boundaries in place, and be aware of what you're putting in your profile. That instead of putting you said widowed, just put, why don't you just put single? You know, as we know, a lot of the scammers will say they're widowed. Now, why do they say that? They're looking for empathy. They're looking to see how much empathy you have, like an abuser does, to see how far they can manipulate you later on down the line. So that's a good one.
Yeah. And Kevin Bulldog Report says, after they're outed, then they come clean and keep on scamming the same person.
Oh, yeah,
that's exactly the experience. Because as soon as you out them, you get the love bombing comes back.
That's what I was going to say. You get the love bombing back, and then they're made to, often the victim's made to feel guilty. Like a victim of domestic violence, and the love bombing starts, and they're promised you the earth again. And you take them, and you go back.
Yes.
So it's the same cycle. So like I said, this trauma bond can go up and down. There's stages of it. It's like a coil until you get to the end where you actually realise really what's happened, and it's like radical acceptance of the situation. Yeah. And actually, you know, when you've got to go no contact, and really you need to shut down social media.
Yes.
Shut down all social media so that they can't find you.
Yeah. So they go on to what I always call the Plan B sob story, which is basically going back to the beginning. You get the love bombing, and then you get the emotional blackmail, because they then tell you another sob story. So instead of their wife having died in a car crash and them being a single father, suddenly their mother or their father is dead. They need money to go to whatever, you know. But it's just a different version of the same emotional.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I'm saying. A trauma bond has different stages, and you go up and down until you get to the end, and you're hit with the radical acceptance of the situation that you have been abused, you have been cohesively controlled, or you know, you've had thousands of pounds taken off you, and it's for the victim, it's literally can be to the point they don't want to be here anymore. And I don't ever want to see anyone feeling like that. I've been to that point of the lowest of the low, believe me. And I don't ever want to see anyone getting, you know, and there is help out there. Like I said, I'm prepared to do one-to-ones with people.
And
like
we've also put lots of links in the description box, and I know Betty's been doing a good job of posting them. So if this is happening to you, or you know someone that it's happening to, there is help out there. But also for people to know you are not alone. You are not the only person this has happened to. You're not the only person this will happen to. It isn't your fault. And there is help out there. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask your friends, ask your family, because I think if you look at watch some of the stories I've had on here of victims, for most of them have had supportive families, and when they finally got to the point where they've just cracked and told their families have been supportive.
I must say, Pauline, again, make peace. Thank you, I will do that. But I must stress that I've had problems in real world, face to face. Pauline, I actually have myself, so I can, I can totally get that. And there's reasons why, like I said, from an early birth, how your brain is programmed or certain things that have happened, but I'm prepared to help you.
Yeah. So email me, and I will give you Chloe's.
Sandals Undercover said, luckily I've never been scammed, but I feel for the scammer victims because of me as a victim of narcissists. Feels that somehow we're on the same page. Yes, narcissistic abuse, which is what I was under as well, is the same as a victim of a scammer. And there's been one study done so far, and they say the cohesive control which they do and the brain manipulation to get over narcissistic abuse can take years, 5 years it's been. So I understand totally. And yes, narcissistic abuse is the same as domestic violence, really. But that's why I linked H.G. Tudor, because he basically saved my life before I'd done any courses. But yes, if you've been a victim of narcissistic domestic violence, it is the same as being on the end of a romance scammer, and that's where the two cross, which, like I said, I feel that we're the only channel that's linking these two forms of abuse. They actually come under the same of domestic violence, cohesive control. So yes, that and I'm sorry that you've had to go through narcissistic abuse, and I would definitely say listen to H.G. Tudor Ultra. He does fascinating things about smear campaign, how they watch you on the internet, about internet dating too, and lots of useful tips. So yeah, just seeing if there's anything I'm looking here.
Oh, Sonic Stefan has only just realised we were live.
Who has?
Sonic Stefan, yes.
Hi, Sonic Stefan. I'm trying to say, I didn't realise you were live. Well, we nearly weren't live.
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, yes, we had some problems. I don't know what that was with.
Yeah.
Cuts and bruises heal, yes. Mr. Ice Spy, I totally agree.
And
this is the one thing where, as a victim of domestic violence myself, abuse, and being romance scammed, unfortunately, as well, we always said that actually being hit, the cuts will heal, but being emotionally hurt, which is what you are when you're a victim of a romance scammer, hurts a lot more. And those wounds, that's what I'm saying. It can take years of self-help, recovery, one-to-ones, which I'm prepared to do because I've been there, to actually heal. And emotional violence, cohesive control, is actually worse than anything else, and that's why the two are so well. The two are the same. So I'm really sorry you've had to go through that.
And I'd long suspected that a lot of victims had previously been either in abusive relationships, or I suspect often grew up in households either where they were themselves emotionally abused, or had parents where they saw being emotionally abused. And so when they meet someone online who treats them the way that their parents treated each other, to them that's normal.
It's normal. Yeah, and someone, Alan, put here, isn't part of the problem is that the mistaken belief is only the weak and gullible can be scammed. And yes, it could happen to any of us. I had my own business from the age of 25. I had a beautiful house, brand new cars all the time, could do what I wanted basically. And I was strong. I was a strong-willed lady, believe me, and I fell to a victim of a narcissist for 12 years and couldn't get out before literally it was too late to save me. So even the strongest of us falls. That's why often a victim of abuse or being scammed is left with guilt and shame, remorse. Why did you let this happen? Why? I used to think, why? Why have I let him done this? Why have I let this person treated me so badly? It's literally nearly destroyed me, taken my life, taken my soul, taken my heart. And yes, it's left me with fibromyalgia because of the trauma to my nervous system. But it's like I said, it's honestly, I just totally feel for a lot of these people on here. But yes, even the strong of us, Alan, can fall, unfortunately.
And yes, Lacey said some of the people though are still in a marriage and still get scammed. Yes, well, and that happened to. I had that story, didn't I? But the question is, that I had that story of the man who contacted me, and his very first email started with, "I still love my wife," but she was being taken. She had sent all their savings to someone that she thought was a cosmetic surgeon in the States. Yes, he still loves her, and she was still in a marriage, but I can only say that there must have been something missing in the marriage that she was getting.
It's normally sex, actually, like I said before.
Yeah, so she was missing that rush of serotonin and other chemicals that somehow, for whatever reason, she wasn't getting from the marriage.
And Kevin has put here, Kevin T. Bulldog report, if you have family or friends, don't let them be isolated, get them out around others in the real world. Yes, that is, but quite often the victim, as I know, will push those people away because they don't really want people to know what's really going on. Though people do know what's going on. But it is very true, the sooner that you can get them out into the real world, mixing with normal people where they might again be able to use by people telling them, but unfortunately when they come home on their own and their emotional thinking kicks in and the scammer's on the phone to them, unless you're with someone 24/7 a day and can keep it, it's so difficult. But I do agree with that, to get them out with family and friends, but often they're isolated before they really know they are, and then they've got no family left or no friends left, and it's so difficult then to climb back up out of the pit that the victims are in. It's like I said, it can be heartbreaking to see, absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah, and Patricia McDermott, but even if they're supposedly happily married, well, I think if Patricia, surely if they were happily married, why would they be on any dating site? I don't know what you all think to that, but if I was happily married, but they say presumably, but I don't get that. Why?
But not all these people are on dating websites. I'm not on dating websites. When I say that, I'm not on a dating website, and my characters are not on dating websites. They get contacted on Facebook. I get people telling me they've been contacted on Instagram. Words with Friends is a very common one. And of course, if you're on Words with Friends and you're playing, it's a bit like Scrabble, isn't it? You're playing a few games with someone. You're getting to know them, so you might be chatting to this person on Words with Friends, and you might feel that you're building up a friendship with this person. And especially if their English skills are not necessarily terribly good, so if you're not very good at playing Scrabble, you might suddenly find somebody that you can actually beat, or you're at least getting similar scores, and again you're getting the adrenaline, the endorphin rush, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Because you've got somebody that's chatting to you, somebody that is
paying you attention.
You're holding your own against, and suddenly you're feeling, positive about yourself and getting that feel good factor. And so then when somebody then says, any advice for people who no longer have family or close friends?
Well, that's when I would say definitely, if you've been isolated through abuse, then I was going to say in each area.
Excuse me, folks. Carry on, Chloe. But I really do have to let my cat in because she's going to scratch a hole in the window.
Right. If you're in obviously areas. Any area, every county has their own domestic violence team. And and they will help you. And there are lots of courses where you'll meet other people. And I would say also look in your local magazines, because there's also lots of, I know some people were lonely and they've taken on gardening clubs, and
Can we say
I don't know if you can do it where you can do a meal out every month with some single nice people, you know, not from a dating app, but you see them face to face. You know, keep an eye on in your local magazines and that. But if you're a victim and you've been isolated, then please, I have given a list which Betty has been putting on. There are ones that you will get help in groups as well, where you'll meet other victims, which empowers you even more. And it's important, obviously, because then you can all gel together, because you've all been through the same thing, and everyone, it's so funny, everyone has different scenarios, but the outcome and how we all felt, or the levels that the abuser or scammer went to, it's always the same, and they work to a specific pattern, you know. They always work to a specific pattern, which if you listen to HD Tutor, you'll realise them often. They also have a lot on the go at the same time.
Somebody wants to see the kitty. She's just gone that way, I'm afraid. I can go and get her back. Oh, here she comes. Problem with I'm sure some of you remember my old Lillipus. The cat that I have now, Sophie, come here, has a spinal injury, so she's doubly incontinent at the moment. So I have to pick her up wrapped in a towel. But hang on. Come here, they want to talk to you.
I'm just trying to say, oh, Pauline, can I just say goodnight to everyone? I have to leave the chat now. Bye, Pauline, please make contact. And Jane, oh no, Jane's saying goodnight back to you. Oh, I'm trying to keep up with this as well. Do you feel, Jolene Carney has put, do you feel that married couples should be honest and let each other know if they're feeling like they need a romantic spark?
Say hello.
I would definitely say yes. I mean, say yes, and, you know, go to Ann Summers and, you know, experiment a bit, but yes, definitely be honest with each other. Someone's put, is Sophie improving?
Unfortunately, no, she's not. Oh. There's no change. She thinks she's absolutely fine. We've only got 10 minutes left. She thinks she's absolutely fine. She isn't limping anymore, but she's still totally doubly incontinent. And I fortunately, I have hardwood floors down here, so I do a lot of washing. Don't I, pussycat?
Yes. And also, yes, people have said if you want to get a rash of serotonin and dopamine, a few people have said it, and I can't think who, but 2 of you have said it. Patricia.
Jogging, yes.
It's about working out. Yes, working out. I think 2 people have said about working out, but yes, working out. When you're in the depths of despair, often afterwards, you know, working out if you can, if you physically are able to. Yes, working out definitely raises serotonin and dopamine naturally.
Yeah.
Even if you can't do jogging, but yoga or Pilates. Yeah.
But you have to have a certain level of self-awareness, don't you?
Yes.
Or a certain level of understanding that something is happening to you to start breaking that addiction to the serotonin rush. So I'm just putting her down.
Someone said don't forget chocolate at Island Girl. Yes.
Well, you can never go wrong with chocolate, can you?
Actually, dark chocolate contains serotonin. Actually, that is very true. So if you have dark chocolate, a piece a day, 2 pieces a day, they reckon that does naturally increase serotonin. And I did find out when I was ending up my abusive relationship, I found stuff to raise my dopamine levels, which were things like eggs, and I think like rockets, and bananas. So I made myself eat 2 bananas a day, and it actually did work. So, love yoga. Mr. Ice Spice says he loves yoga. Well done you. I'd like to see you in a leotard, maybe.
Yoga just makes me hungry. I can't explain it. If I go do a yoga class, I always come out really hungry.
Karaoke gives dopamine, yeah. A good old sing-song does.
Yes.
And Pamela's saying good night. Thank you, Pamela, for joining us. Just like to say as well, there's someone also that I follow called Lisa R. Ramono. She's a life coach and deals with abuse, especially after narcissistic abuse and self-healing. She's absolutely excellent, and I do use hypnosis, which there's Michael Seeley on YouTube. It's free, they're all free, absolutely amazing ones. Again, there's ones there for anxiety, stress, broken heart, if you feel depressed, help you to sleep. They really work. So Michael Seeley on YouTube, and I think because self-love is really important. Chocolate gives me a rush. Unfortunately, it gives me other things. Wow. But yes, I'm hoping to do each topic, because like I said, individual under with Annie, and then do maybe some one-to-ones, people who are really in need of a one-to-one. Yes, I have adopted myself a cat. Well, this is going back to chemicals, but having an animal helps, because when you stroke an animal, you get the release of oxytocin, which is what you got when you were a baby close to your mother, or breastfed. You get oxytocin. So stroking an animal gives you that oxytocin, which it's a very nurturing, calming thing, but also the animal gets it as well as you. So it's double the bonus there. So yeah, very well said that about animals. So, and Sandals Undercover said that as well, adopted taken from abusive home, that helped me. So yes, I would say always go to an animal sanctuary, get an animal, get a cat or a small dog, something you can cope with, that is in need of a loving home, and pour all your love and attention and healing into that animal, and they will get it back, and you'll feel wonderful, and so will that animal. And so true. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. If I could have a cat right now, I can't for personal reasons at the moment, but I hope to have one day. But yeah, most of the time, scam betas squash, I don't know how to say his name,
Sasquatch?
Yeah, most of the time our rational side gets shut down with feelings of love. It only kicks back in when something traumatic happens. Yes, that's what I'm saying, when the logical thinking over emotional thinking, and sometimes it does take something to kick you back in, and then it's almost too late. And that's why I said it's important to have time out. When you said, have a quiet time to process what's happened, very true. But sometimes you might need days or week, block that scammer, let him wait, but have time to think, or the abuser, have time to think using your logical brain, and ask friends, neighbours, okay, I'm going to this, what would you do? Do you think, someone you can trust? But yeah, very true. Again, emotional thinking over logical, or what we would say non-mentalising over mentalising. So that's very true.
And Jolene has just said, how about a fictional story of how one of your characters comes back from a romance scam? I could do that. I think with both of the scams, both of the books that I've written so far, I did end them on a positive note, with both of them understanding what had happened to them. It's just a long time since I wrote them, I don't quite remember. But yes, I think certainly with Serafina, the one who was really dragged down by it, the way that she was coming back was helping her mother help other victims. And I am writing the third book, but I realised I've written myself into a corner, so I need to get out of it. We've only got 2 minutes left.
So if after the stream, maybe, because like I said, I'm planning maybe to do some more in-depth
so what we're going to do, so the plan is,
and if you ever want to have another live stream with me, you know, on the certain subject, just one of the subjects we covered. Because
yes, and if you want to contact Chloe for some one-on-one support, or you know somebody that you think she might be able to help, email help@keepsafeonthenet.co.uk. The link's under all the videos, and I will give you Chloe's dedicated email, helpline email, but we don't want to put it here publicly.
Don't worry, it's naturally curly.
Yeah.
But thank you, my lovely dog. It's naturally like this. That's because I'm nervous. Actually, no, I'm not nervous. I'm used to speaking out.
And Dark Knight, we've only got 1 minute left, but Dark Knight says he can't understand why victims seem compelled to send the money. That's the rush of serotonin and dopamine, isn't it, that they get?
Scammer happy.
Yeah.
So when they made the scammer happy,
and because always, and you see it in my videos, the instant that somebody's agreed to send them money, they're, oh, I love you, darling, blah, blah, blah. So they're giving you that rush. I'm going to wrap it up now, folk, because we've got less than a minute left. So I'll say goodbye to all of you in a minute after I've said goodbye to Chloe, because otherwise we're just going to get cut off. And hopefully next time we can get it to work on Hangouts, so we don't have this. I'm sure it was just me setting the whole thing up wrongly. What an old boss of...
that your pain, and I feel privileged that if I can help other people through my things, and it's lovely that you've all been here, and you're all amazing supporting Annie, and thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to end it with the end button so we don't... too late, we did get cut off. So I will just give you back the amazing... turn that off. The amazing island scene. And so I'll just say thank you so much to everybody for coming along tonight. Huge thank you to Betty Bam Bam for keeping you all in order and posting all the relevant links. Thank you so much, Betty. You've been really invaluable. There is at least one other person in the chat who I am trying to coerce into becoming a moderator for us. So I'll wrap it up there. Chloe will be back, hopefully to make some videos on individual topics, because as you can probably tell, this is a subject she's very passionate about, and she's actually been quite what would be the word, circumspect tonight. When I've been talking to her privately, she's been much more outspoken. She's got a huge amount of experience, and she's still listening. She's very dedicated to helping anyone that either feels they have been a victim, feels they're becoming a victim, or feels that they know someone that's been a victim. Oh, thank you so much, Patricia. That's so kind of you. We would like to use this channel as the channel's now growing, and the whole aim of the channel is to raise awareness and to educate. So, as I've said several times in the videos, although I make the videos funny and entertaining, it's not because I think that romance scamming is funny, because I don't. But I use the humour because I think that's a way of engaging people. And it would be so much nicer if you could actually see me, wouldn't it? Hang on, let's see if I can give you a video, turn the video on. That'd be really good, wouldn't it? And hang on, so we'll say okay, there you go. Hi. So yeah, as I say, it's not because I think romance scamming is funny, because I know that it isn't, but I do feel it's because I used to be an adult education teacher. I used to use humour in the classes. I think I've said, oh, thank you so much, Betty. I think I've said this before as well. You'd get about 90 to 95% of people in my classes would come along and think, oh, this is good, it's entertaining, this is fun. And then you'd get the 5%, but you could see staring at me going, can't you just shut up, you silly woman, and teach us something? But I do think humour engages people. Education is the aim of the channel. And Perfume Addict, to be honest, raised my awareness of the connection between domestic violence and the abuse, the emotional, mental abuse that's going on with these scammers is the same type of abuse that the victims of domestic abuse are experiencing. And so Perfume Addict is very passionate about raising awareness of that, helping potential victims, helping previous victims, and adding to this channel the option for people to get support, which is not something that I offer because I haven't been the victim. You know, I've been very lucky. I've never been the victim of domestic abuse. I wasn't brought up in an abusive household, and I've never had an abusive relationship. And you probably realise from the videos that ever since I was a small child, I've been immune to bullying. So anyone that's ever tried to bully me has failed. And that's a long story too, which I won't bore you with. But I know I'm in the minority. But I don't feel that I'm qualified to support victims of bullying or emotional abuse because I haven't been there myself. And so I'm aware that that's perhaps the bit how I do make the videos, because people do say to me, how can you not get angry with this person, which sometimes I do. It goes over straight over my head, but I know that for most people it doesn't. And I know that once, because it's, you know, we've all known addicts, alcoholics, drug addicts, gambling addicts, and you can see how hard it is for them to break the addiction, and how proud of themselves they are, and rightly so, when they do break it. And so that's what Chloe, Perfume Addict, wants to help with, and she's very passionate about using her own experiences to help other people. So if you do feel you've been the victim of abuse, or you're becoming the victim of an abuser online, or you know somebody that is becoming a victim, please don't be afraid to email help@keepsafeonthenet.co.uk, and I will put you in touch with Perfume Addict, who, as I say, has set up an email address for people to use to contact her, but we don't want to put it on here because she has reasons of her own for not wanting it to be made public. Yes, unfortunately, a lot of people don't realise they've been victimised by bullies because they've been bullied all their life. Exactly, Betty, which is what I've often, I don't know how often I have said it on the videos, but I've often wondered how many of the people that fall for the scammers' tactics have been brought up in emotionally abusive households, or how many have been brought up in emotionally abusive households, so for them that feels normal, it feels it's the way they expect to be treated. I've seen that myself with, I won't go into the story, but with a friend of mine, an old university friend of mine, whose partner, in my eyes, was abusive, emotionally abusive. She couldn't see it, but actually he was treating her the way that her parents treated each other. So for her it felt normal, for me it didn't. But it was emotional abuse. In her case, she wasn't being physically abused. Scandals Undercover says, I wasn't bullied all my life and I still fell victim to a covert narcissist. Well, I guess if you're not aware of what's happening, it can quite genuinely happen to anyone. And once you've started falling victim, you've got that rush of the endorphins that Perfume Addict was talking about, and it is like eating chocolate. I mean, I have to say, what can I say? If you're female, you'll understand what chocolate does to you. And if you're getting that same rush of feel-good chemicals, then you don't realise what's happening to you, do you? You don't stop to rationalise it. If something's making you feel good, you just run with it. So Perfume Addict there. Well, Perfume Addict's typed HG Tudor's name there for you. So if you want to look on YouTube for his videos to find out what's going on, hop on YouTube. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks so much for everyone for coming. Huge thank you to Betty again. Huge thank you to Perfume Addict. And even huger apologies for the mess up at the beginning. And unfortunately, it's not something you can trial. You can't trial live streaming until you go live. And that's when you realise it's not working. But there you go. So thank you so much for everybody that's come along. Thank you so much for everyone that's made a donation. I really appreciate that. And I will wrap it up now. And I'm doing another premiere on, I think it's on Monday night, because it's the follow-up to Harry Conti, who was just so funny that, and he's even funnier in episode 2. And if I do it as a premiere, I can hop on the chat and talk to you all. So I will see some of you on Monday night, UK time, and I'll just say thank you all again, and goodbye for now.